Okay, yeah, no, we'll be in contact. Thank you.
Check 1, 2. Nah.
Okay. Looking for your case for you all there.
The chief here? Okay. You don't want to start without him. Yeah. Okay. Well, good morning. Chief and I want to thank the prosecutor and all of the community groups who are standing with us today after the experience we had 4th of July week. We had a level of violence last week that we rarely see anymore in Detroit, and has caused a great deal of pain to the victims and their family, and has caused a great deal of pain to the entire Detroit community. But what's especially troubling is that the violence was generated almost entirely by a growing form of illegal activity in this city, and that is the illegal block party. In the 3 days starting with July 4th, we had shootings at 6 separate illegal block parties, 3 homicides, and 24 other shooting victims. 27 victims at 6 illegal parties. And what makes this especially tragic is the progress that we've made. You've all reported the record reduction in violence in 2023. The first 6 months of 2024 through June, again, we've seen huge reduction in homicides and shootings and carjackings, largely through the efforts here. But in 1 week, in the first week of July, what we are seeing threatens to undo years of progress, and we are saying today that we're going to act to address it. And what we are seeing is a form of activity we haven't seen before. Chief White is going to take you through the details, but almost 40% of the shooting victims lived outside the city of Detroit. Hundreds of people showed up at these parties from a range of 50 miles away. We had people reported from northern Ohio at these events. This is not your neighbor's family's party got large. These are intentional, pre-planned events looking to attract people from miles away, people who are coming here carrying illegal weapons, planning to party into the wee hours of the evening, believing that the neighbors in the Detroit Police Department will not stop the lawless gatherings. We learned a lot in the last week, and we are going to take steps. Now, this isn't new. 3 years ago, you remember, we had a lot of issues with violence and fights in parks, particularly late into the evening. And the Detroit Police Department Chief White put in a park patrol, and as everybody in Detroit knows now, we will close down every park in the city at 10 in the evening. We have made the parks in the city a safe place to gather. In the last 2 years, we had seen streets shut down for drag racing and drifting, and it was the same kind of activity. People from all over the state of Michigan would show up. They would instantly shut down a street. These organizers were charging for the events, and the Detroit Police Department responded effectively again. And with the use of the helicopters and seizing the vehicles, the dragsters and the drifters learned that if they came to the city of Detroit, they were going back home without their high-performance vehicle. And this summer, you've seen the Detroit Police Department has dramatically curbed the drag racing and the drifting. We've now seen a new activity. We have individuals who have decided that they can organize pop-up parties in neighborhoods with no notice to the neighbors, with instant direct messaging, and people pouring in from miles around. You've got quiet neighborhoods where all of a sudden Uber cars are coming down the street dropping off teenagers they've never seen before, wanting to know where the party is. And we are going to adjust our strategies accordingly. And so we're going to make it clear right now that we realized the goal of this is not to chase the party goers, but to go after the organizers. And it is a violation of city ordinance to engage in public disturbances, to engage in disorderly conducts. It is a 90-day jail sentence, and we are going to move forward that those who have organized these large illegal parties, we are going to arrest them, and we are going to prosecute the hosts and the property owners for the public disturbances. And I'm really pleased that Prosecutor Kim Worthy is here. And in some cases, these events may rise to the level of a state offense. And in any case where the prosecutor says, I can take that under state law, we will turn the case over to Wayne County. But in the rest of the cases, we are going to move immediately. I want to make sure we can distinguish between what's a legal party and what's an illegal party. Because in the city of Detroit, we enjoy summer in the neighborhoods. Backyard barbecues are a tradition in this city, and we want that tradition to continue. Neighborhood street parties are a condition in the city. And as longtime Detroiters know, you can get a permit from the Detroit Police Department to shut down your street. You have to ask the neighbors and get 75% of your neighbors to agree to it so that their street isn't closed down without their consent. You go till 10 p.m., your neighborhood police officer will coordinate with you, and you celebrate with your neighbors. We want those kinds of joyful events to go on the rest of the summer without incident. That is not what we are talking about here. But when you are organizing events where you're inviting hundreds of people from across the region in these direct message process and the like, the police will come out early and will warn you, give you a warning. We don't want to arrest anybody, but it is a whole lot easier to confront them early in the day than at 1:30 or 2 in the morning or 2:30 in the morning where we had the 21 victims. We do need the help from the public. And I would say to members of the public, when you see these forming, call 911. You know the difference between your neighbor's family getting a little loud and a lot of strangers showing up on your street, parking on the grass and the sidewalk, blocking your driveway, underage kids out in front after curfew, loud noise in the neighborhood. You know the difference. Call 911, call early. The police will be there, and to gather the information we need to prosecute the hosts and the property owners, it is much easier to gather it at 9:30 at night when it's a small crowd than it is later on. If the public will help us in early warnings, and I know all the organizations have agreed here to help us in early warnings, we're going to take the action we need to head these off. Because I want to be clear, we're not going to have neighbors becoming hostages in their own homes this summer. And that is what's happening when somebody looks up and sees cars pouring into the neighborhood, blocking their street, not being able to sleep from the noise, and just waiting for when the gunfire is going to erupt and wonder if they're at risk. There are organizers who don't believe that we can act quickly enough on this, but we are going to protect the safety of every neighborhood in this city. And over the last 72 hours, Chief White and the Detroit Police Department have put together a plan for a rapid deployment. They're going to go after these illegal block parties the same way they went after the illegal drag racing. And with that, I'll turn it over to the Chief to talk about how we are going to address it. Chief White?
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, thank you, Madam Prosecutor, and everyone that's here today. This is clearly, by their presence, an illustration of just how important what is happening in our community is. As I go into what happened yesterday, early yesterday morning, I do want to say once again that, we're not talking about your typical barbecues. This is not, what we've all grown up with and that we look forward to in Detroit. I mean, Detroit's a beautiful town. In the summertime, everybody enjoys having these types of parties and barbecues. These are not the ones that we're talking about. We're talking about events that have large numbers of people from around the state, as far as 50 miles away, that are showing up armed, many instances, with a sense of lawlessness, taking over the streets, parking, blocking driveways, and things such as that. But to get into precisely what happened, early yesterday morning, 6 young men and 15 young women were shot, resulting in 2 fatalities. Our hearts and prayers go out to those victims and their families. I myself am speaking with a heavy heart when you look at the level of violence, and certainly the young lady in particular who was killed. Just really a sad situation. There's been some media with that, some social media posts that I won't go into, but it speaks to just how tragic the situation is. We have received over 500 911 calls for disturbances since May related to these public block party situations. Our investigations into this particular incident has revealed a number of things. Number one, that this is like many other of the pop-up parties that are generally spurred through social media. Our crime intelligence team does an amazing job of tracking, like we did with the drag racing and drifting, able to get engaged at a high level to preemptively put in processes to reduce victimization of people who are watching the drag racing and drifting, but also to just give the community their neighborhoods back. Because what I was hearing from our residents is I can't drive to the store without being stopped by vehicles in front of me that are drag racing and drifting. So we use what we learned from that to try to understand these pop-up block parties. And what we see is that they've become somewhat more sophisticated in how they communicate. And part of that is to send out, these notices that there's going to be a party, and then to direct message for further information, which is the case with this particular event. Our officers specific to this event were actually in the area responding to another block party several blocks away, where it was approximately 300 people and shots were fired at that location. Officers quickly made that location from the 9th Precinct, were assisting those who were there looking for victims when this run came out. They then quickly move over to this particular run, and upon their arrival, officers found several victims and numerous shell casings. It was reported that over 100 shell casings were found, and over 9 weapons were recovered. What we do know, without getting into too much detail in the investigation, as Madam Prosecutor has to chime in on this portion of it, so I can't get into specifics, is that multiple people fired shots. And that's as far as I can go into that portion of it. 9 weapons were recovered. One of those weapons had a Glock switch, and for those who don't know what that is, it essentially makes a handgun an automatic weapon. Again, these are people at a party, that much weaponry, folks bringing Glock switches. Obviously, the intent is not to have a good time and enjoy the summer. This tragedy does not represent our city. This does not represent Detroit. Look at the people who are here and concerned. This is not who we are. We have shown time and time again we can host lawful, safe events, whether it be Beyonce coming to town, Taylor Swift, or the draft. We know how to do this. Or most recently, the fireworks. Not one significant incident from any of those events. This is people deciding to use our town, take over our neighborhoods, and engage in lawlessness and take over our streets. That is not going to be tolerated. Since July 4th, the city has experienced 6 separate shooting incidents totaling 27 victims at block parties. 27 victims at block parties. And again, these pop-up large-scale block parties. DPD has noticed that some organizers have gone to great lengths to conceal the event's identity and location, and I talked a little bit about that earlier. Many of the individuals attending these events are getting hurt. For example, in the 6 incidents that have taken place since July 4th, 11 of the 27 victims, let me say that again, 11 of the 27 victims did not even live in our town. While we mourn these statistics, now it's the time for us to take action. Going forward, the department will be implementing a multi-layered approach, very similar to what we did with Park Patrol. And these are neighborhood response teams. And simply put, what this will be is we will assign officers starting on Thursdays, at least one car out of service that will just drive through the neighborhoods and essentially be looking for this illegal activity. This is not a heavy enforcement targeted approach. This is an approach to keep our community safe and to look for these types of events. In addition to that, we're going to make sure that everyone's aware how to host a large-scale event. And the mayor talked a little bit about that earlier. There is a way to get a permit. There is a way to go through the process of having an NPO assist. There are a number of events, large-scale events that happen that are in compliance with the rules of the city. Where the officers are present, we can assist with shutting down the street. If you want to have a block party, you need 75% of the residents to agree to shutting down the street for a particular time. There are time-specific parameters around that, and there's ways that we can get into that a little bit later. In addition, we're going to increase our radio patrol. Our radio patrol has been an integral part of our success. We're going to make sure that we further enhance that. I've talked to one of our community ambassadors, Mr. Teferi Brent, about how we can go about that. There's a few people that have been an integral part of that, and we're going to make sure that we tap into them and expand that program. It's a great program, very simple. You see something, say something, and we pay for the gas for your car as you go through the neighborhoods and letting us know. But from a more direct approach from our lens, and that's law enforcement, is to have this proactive approach. We're going to continue to use our real-time crime center. We're going to continue to deploy at least 80 officers, and I know that's a robust number, but with the number of block parties that we have, I think it's important that we address it much like we did Park Patrol and put 80 officers out there who's going to be directly responsible and engaged in reducing this violence and addressing this block party issue. And we're going to continue to do that. We're going to be looking for disorderly conduct, illegal parking, any traffic interference that we have, and certainly for those who are participating in the parties and in the streets, if they're carrying an illegal weapon, that will be addressed as well. Any disorderly conduct, anything that disrupts the neighborhood will be addressed. Also, in addition, we're going to be continually working with our CVI groups. There's a lot to our plan, our strategy that I won't go into, but it will certainly involve the Real-Time Crime Center, our CVIs, our neighborhood police officers, and then this new unit, our neighborhood response teams. Emphasis on neighborhoods to make sure that those who live in our community who have an absolute right to their safety gets that. We're not going to let people take over our town, engage in this lawlessness, and victimize our community. We're just not going to let it happen. I'm not going to tolerate it, and our officers are going to be highly engaged. Again, this is a tragic situation, but we think with this strategy, we'll be able to move forward and ensure the safety of those who live, work, and play in our city. With that, I would like to bring up Madam. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's one part. I was looking for that in my notes. The most important part is we'll be elevating these block party calls to a priority 1. And what that means, if I can unpack that for everyone. So generally speaking, if you call and you say you've got a serious crime that's taking place, that's a priority 1. To provide some context to that, If you call and there's a noise disruption, loud music, that's a priority 3 because no one's injured, no one's hurt. So that's a 3, and it doesn't get the top priority, and it may be handled several minutes after a priority 1. Block parties now are going to be elevated to a priority 1. When you call and say that there's a block party, that will get a priority 1 response, which is a quicker response, and it's categorized differently, and we're able to address the issues a lot differently. Also, in addition to that, on the weekends, those dedicated units will directly get those calls to immediately handle those runs. So that way, you don't have what we call a stack of runs where you are also getting a block party in addition to the other runs, an accident, and those types of things that you may get. It'll be the dedication of those units to address those priority 1 block party calls. And again, with that, I will bring up Madam Prosecutor for comments. Thank you.
Thank you to the mayor and the chief for inviting me here today. I'm going to make this short. A lot of what I was going to say has been said, so there's no reason for me to repeat it, but there are 2 things I want to focus on. One is I know a lot of you are here to hear the facts and circumstances or the alleged facts and circumstances of what happened this past weekend. We're not going to talk about them. We're not going to answer those questions because the investigation continues. I want to just emphasize the fact that this is going to take time. This is a large party. There's a lot of evidence to be examined. There's a lot of investigation to be done. And so please don't expect anything, once I do get a warrant request from the police department, quickly. This is going to take time to sort through everything and do this right the first time. And those of you that know me know that I want to do things right the first time. The second thing is proactivity was one of my favorite words. We work directly in the prosecutor's office with people like Daryl Woods and Tafari and Zoe and others. I am willing, and we are all willing to listen to, that's why we're all here, any idea that someone has to make it better and to make this right. So again, we are all in when it comes to cases that the city wants to elevate to a state case. That's fine. We will do that. I have no problem with that. But I also just want to make clear that I'm all about collaboration and listening to the ideas of people that have to make this right. I appreciate everything that's been done in a short period of time by the police department and the mayor's office, and I look forward to implementing the plan, I think when it's due later this week on Friday. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to work with everyone. I'm not excited to talk about the case yet. We will talk about it when we have the facts. We will have a press conference and let you know if there are charges and even if there aren't charges to be levied. So again, we're going to be careful. We're going to do this right as far as the investigation is concerned, and we're also going to do this right in terms of proactivity and making sure that our city is safe for people to enjoy. Thank you.
Let me first acknowledge all of the brothers and sisters who are here, our community leaders, folks who are on the ground doing the great work. Although we've had 3 of these incidences, we would have had significantly more had not the brothers and sisters you see standing behind us and with us been involved in the community, engaging our younger brothers and sisters, talking to them, providing them with resources, and showing them a different way to resolve conflict. However, our responsibility here today, mine in particular, is to continue to engage us and challenge us to look at this from a high level. Until we address the root cause issues, we will continue to be here talking about prosecuting folk and locking people up. Everyone here is aligned on this one reality. You cannot arrest yourself out of this. We cannot prosecute and convict ourselves out of this. We cannot incarcerate ourselves out of this. Until we address substance abuse, until we address fatherlessness, until we address functional illiteracy, until we address mental health issues, until we address poverty, we will be back here over and over and over again. We have resources standing in this room right behind me that need to be in our schools. Madam Pugh, Dr. Pugh from the State Board of Education, I know we've been talking, but we got to get to work. We need the Peaceable School Initiative in every single school in southeastern Michigan. We also need conflict resolution to be embedded into our curriculums. We also need de-escalation to be embedded into our curriculums. We need anger management to be embedded into our curriculums. We need critical thinking skills to be embedded into our curriculum. Dr. Vitti, we need your help. Sister Angelique Peterson, Peterson Mayberry, we need your help. We need all hands on deck. The police cannot do it on their own. The prosecutors and judges cannot do it on their own. CVI teams cannot do it on their own. We need every individual, every leader, every servant, every institution in this city to be involved in addressing this issue of violence in our community. This is the #1 issue in our community. It ain't white supremacy. It ain't just poverty. But the #1 issue is the byproduct of all of that, and that's this violence. We have to address that concurrently while we address those root cause issues. So we have to address them all, brothers and sisters. We should not be here talking about 21 folks being killed. That is not a mass shooting. That is a war zone. Our babies should not be raised and forced to live in war zones. Our elders should not be forced to live in war zones. This is beyond a mass shooting. You have multiple folks shooting. We have a responsibility, brothers especially. Your job, God created you not to be predators. God created you to be protectors in our community. How dare you sit back and watch sisters fighting each other, crawling all on the floor, and all you want to do is film it and not inject yourself into creating peace and safety for our sisters. How dare you? Brothers, you know good and well when you organized this party, cats was coming. You seen them coming with the gats in their pocket, with the extendo clips, because they carry around their guns like freaking credit cards. We know what this is. It used to be a time when we organized block clubs and block parties and house parties. We would have the big homies come and our uncles come and do security. And we made it clear, don't you dare come up in here with no gun. We have a responsibility, black men. What we gonna do, man? We can't depend on the police to make our communities safe for us. We can't depend on the police to defend us. Black man, that's your job. Let us stand up and do our jobs. 15 sisters shot. That's absolutely unacceptable. When are we going to protect our women? When are we going to protect our babies? When are we going to protect our elders? That's on us. We don't need police for that. It's a darn shame the solutions coming from the police, the mayor, and the prosecutor. That's secondary. That's reactionary. When they get involved, it's too late. I'm tired of writing letters to judges for you. I'm tired of writing letters to prosecutors for you. I'm tired of writing letters to POs for you. I'm tired of hugging and loving on your mama because you dead someplace because you was involved in some foolishness and you refuse to resolve your conflicts peacefully. I'm tired of black mamas crying. I'm tired of grandmamas and black fathers crying. I'm tired of your little sister and your little brother being traumatized from seeing you murdered in front of them, only to then have them, because of unresolved trauma, turning around and become killers themselves, man. We can do better. Family, we gotta do better. Dr. Vitti, Pastor Ovella, thou shalt not kill. She has an entire program you need to put in every single school in the district. Dr. Vitti, Angelique Peterson Mayberry, Pastor Mo, he has a program, Live in Peace, specifically designed for young people to teach them how to deal with conflict. You need to put them in every school in the district. Find the damn money. You find it for everything else, find it to save our babies. So I'm begging you, community, step up, do better. Black men, especially, step up, do better. Sisters, come on, queen. Yes. Mothers of the universe, mothers of the earth. God didn't create you to be scrapping at no parties, rolling around in the dirt and on the concrete. Come on, mothers. Come on, queens. Come on, little princesses. God didn't create you for that. He created you to be mother of the earth. God bless you. And I challenge you all to step up and let's do better. Do better for our babies, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I could just say thank you to Ferry, and that's to Ferry every day, not just here. That's every time I talk to Ferry. That's who he is. That's his heart. That's how he feels about this community and how we can do better. So thank you. At this time, I would like to bring up another one of our ambassadors from the community, Zoe. Can you come on up, sir?
How everybody doing? It's unfortunate that our youth have to experience so much trauma. We're doing everything in our power, the CVI organizations, to offer an off-ramp when it comes to the thinking that we demonstrate. And I'm going to talk directly to those who participate in those type of activities. We want you to make it home. We want you to make it home. We don't want you in prison. Like, just flat out. No one else is harming each other like that. No one else. And I would say this to those that are my age, a little younger, and our elders. You have to be fearless with our youth. You have to be ready to die with them to save them.
That's right.
I talked to one of my sisters a few days ago, and I was telling her what happened to our leaders who were willing to lose their life so that our people could live. We endure a lot. We endure a lot. And I understand, like, I don't, like, a lot of people like to say things. When stuff like that happen, and government and law enforcement start holding people accountable, that's because if you can't manage yourself,
right.
other people gonna manage you.
That's right.
They gonna manage you. We gotta learn how to manage ourselves.
That's right.
We just had a discussion, and Madam Prosecutor talked about being proactive. They are trying to offer, and they didn't came and said, whatever you can do, we're gonna do our part, y'all do your part. Find the individuals who wanna do this, let them know to do it right, and they'll get the support. It's no different than what we've been doing. We've been able to drive down or get 70% reductions in fatal and non-fatal shootings because we identify those individuals and we pour into them. We're not going to leave those individuals behind. We're not going to villainize them. We're not going to criminalize them. But that may happen if you continue to behave how you behave, because we are part of community and we don't want to see community harmed either. I watched the news or YouTube right before I came here. And I saw a man, he said, I was sitting on the porch with my wife. And he had to run in the house. What if they have a block party on my mother's block? Y'all have to be accountable for yourselves and responsible for yourselves, or other people gonna be responsible for you. And you can buck it, but when they get you behind those bars and behind them bricks, you gonna follow the rules. We talk about the emotional regulation that comes behind embarrassment. While I was in prison, the most embarrassing thing as a man that I went through was to have to take off all my clothes when somebody told me to take off my clothes. So how can I regulate my emotions then, but I can't do it out here?
That's right.
How can I learn to live with thousands of men who behave just like some of the men I'm in community with, and I can navigate through that, but I can't do it out here?
That's right.
We gotta stop harming each other. That's just flat out.
That's right.
We here. There's been discussions for this to be done in the right way if you're gonna do it. And at the end of the day, 21 people got shot, 2 got killed.
Yeah.
People dying, ain't nobody with that.
That's right.
Like, ain't nobody like, and as you get older, and I'm saying this to the youth, as you get older, you will understand today ain't the last day, so stop living like today the last day.
That's right.
Because it'll wind up being that. And not only will I say, like, when you talk about the neighbors letting people know when these type of events going on, you may need to stop going to these events because you might wind up being on Metro Detroit News just like the rest of them. We tired of doing balloon and visuals. We tired of people tired of that. That's how we even exist, community-based violence intervention, because we tired of that, and we'd have been through it. So I would say I would caution you when you're going out there, don't want to have fun so much that you create misery. And I will also offer you an opportunity to scale up your creativity. If you have the ability to gather that many people, you have the ability to run a business. You have the ability to canvass and campaign. You have the ability to swing an election. You have the ability to start a movement. If you can organize, you're an organizer.
Yeah.
If you can organize that many people to enjoy themselves, you can organize that many people for change.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you, Zoe, for your amazing words. Again, another one of our CVI leaders and a leader in this community. At this time, Mr. Ray Winans will be coming up. He's another one of our CVI leaders.
Sad day. The city is not saying we don't want you to have fun. Being shot at and people dying is not fun.
That's right.
And nobody is bigger than accountability.
That's right.
My message is to the parents. Know where your children are. You shouldn't be letting your 15, 16, 17-year-old babies go to no block parties.
That's right.
Especially at 2:30, 12 o'clock. I mean, like, if you're going to send your child to a block party, please attend it with them. Make sure that your child is safe. For the ones that want to do the block party, it's the right way to get it done. Right? It's the right way to get it done. The city wants us to have fun. They want us to enjoy ourselves. But we don't want to keep burying babies.
That's right.
Y'all done heard a lot of messages, right? But this is sad. We woke up sad, went to sleep sad. And again, I am going to say, nobody is bigger than accountability. You just heard 50 families.
That's right.
For every child that's born, there's two sides of a family. And I'm going to be intentional. That ain't what we do on the east side, man. It ain't what we do in the city of Detroit, but I'm going to speak for the east. We set plays, we don't get played. That was a play that got set for some out-of-towners to come and navigate and organize our community. And for 100 shots to get dropped on a block,
Come on now.
that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
How y'all doing today? I want to first offer condolences to the families of all the victims that were involved. And then I want to talk directly to the inner city of the east side of Detroit as far as those guys that call themselves big homies, big brothers. They say it takes a village to raise a child, so the time for that village is now.
That's right.
Like, we can't continue to sit back and say we know the right thing to do and not be a direct example of that.
That's right.
We got to get out here in the field with these babies
Come on now.
and show them that other things are possible. Show them how to shift that energy, because that energy is already in them. They just sending it the wrong way.
That's right.
So we need to begin to implement something to where we can direct that energy to go a whole opposite way and make them evolve and elevate into something that they already got inside of them. We just got to bring it out. What happened was unacceptable. It was a coward act. And for the guys in the community that call themselves those big guys or whatever they want to be called, if we sit back and continue to not intervene, then we just as much as cowards as the guys who pulled those triggers. So it's time to unify. It's time to get this stuff together for the city of Detroit and these babies, because if we don't, we're going to end up letting the whole generation wipe themselves out. And I ain't for that. And I know the guys that I come with ain't for that. So today we taking a stand. We holding everybody accountable. So if you feel like that you don't want nothing to do with it, just fall back. But we finna be out here in these communities and we gonna figure this stuff out together though. Because it's gonna take all of us. It ain't nothing that the police department can do alone, not nothing that the mayor can do alone, not nothing that the CVI groups can do alone. We're gonna do this together and unify and get the best results out of this as we can. So thank y'all.
Thank you, brother. That was outstanding. Thank you, brother. Yes.
Thank you all for those powerful words, and I hope that they are received as powerfully as they were sent. I do, before I take questions, I know one of the questions is going to be about the victims, as it should be. If we could flip to the slide that has who they are, and I'll just go through them for those of you who can't see them. The shooting victims was a female, 20. Where are the locations that they're from? Okay, I wanted them next to them. But in any event, go back to the other slide. The deceased victim is 20. The deceased male obviously is 21. We have a 18-year-old temporary serious, 17-year-old temp serious. I don't know the condition of the 21-year-old. Another 20-year-old female victim, 22, 20, 17, 21, 20, 27, 17, 18, 19, 17, 16, 21, 25, 24, and 21. These are kids. These are young people and kids. We can go to the next slide, please. I had asked my team to align this so that you could see who was who, but 11 from Detroit, 1 from St. Clair Shores, 2 from East Point, 2 from Clinton Township. Taylor, Oak Park, Southville, and Warren are all represented there. This is not just a Detroit thing. These are folks that are coming into our community, taking over our streets, engaging in lawlessness. Now, we're not going to victim shame. Obviously, they didn't deserve that. No one does. Everyone deserves to have a safe summer, a safe event. But what we do know with these pop-ups is that there are people from all over the state that are coming in here and engaging in this high-risk behavior, and oftentimes is leading to shootings in situations like this. So with that, we'll take any questions. Can we get some order in it? Can you announce the order?
So when you approach the podium, please state your name, where you work, and we're going to limit it to 2 questions because we sure have a lot of people who would like some answers.
Hi, folks. Kim Craig, Channel 7. Chief, were there any 911 calls on this event?
There were at least 3. 2 of the calls came in, my understanding is right at the point the officers were responding, and then we had some shot spotters come in, but there were 3 calls.
Okay. So there was nothing in advance that could have allayed this or anything like that?
We don't find any delay at this point.
No, allayed, like could have stopped this.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. But what we're looking into is all aspects. I mean, we're early in the investigation. As part of there's 2 tracks. There's obviously the criminal investigation track, and then there's the internal operations track, right? And we look at every case to make sure that there's nothing that we could have done better, and that part is ongoing right now. But we haven't found anything thus far that creates any concern for us.
And then second question, would you still call, given that the how you described that, their DMs and how this is kind of put out there for the invites and all that, would you call this a block party? Was it advertised as that, if you will? Or was it just a house party that got out of control? Yeah,
and that's an important distinction. This one is a block party based on the preliminary information that we have as part of the investigation. It actually involved a number of houses. And again, it's early, and I'm not going to go much further than that, but we're getting more information as we speak. There are investigators that are looking at it, and this definitely is our definition of a block party.
And it was just an illegal block party. It wasn't sanctioned or anything.
It was not sanctioned. Okay. No permit was pulled. No streets were blocked off with the assistance of the police department. This is just folks that came in and took over that area.
Okay, thank you much.
Hey, George Hunter, Detroit News. 2 years ago in Greektown, you had people shot with cops standing 10 feet away. So one first question is how much, I mean, you got to put something in place, but how much of this is just out of your hands,
Well, it's not out of my hands. It's my responsibility. I was hired to assist in keeping the city safe, and I think the officers do an amazing job. I mean, you speak of Greektown. We had a problem that summer, and we came out with our plans and our strategy, and we deployed them, and they were executed very well, and you see the results of that statistically. We don't brag about that, despite what some may think. We look at a baseline number of if the crime is going down in a particular area by virtue of our work. We're never taking a victory lap. It's still way too much crime in our city. We had a problem in the parks, and we deployed our strategy in the parks, and it worked. I think people are adjusting to what we're doing. And I think, you know, we know what we had when we had folks that had an opportunity to have those unsanctioned events throughout the city and parks. And so we went in and we said, well, you know, let's put some parameters in place and some patrols, and that worked out well. And families are enjoying parks again. So this is a evolution of that. I mean, we know that our strategies change folks' strategies, and I'll leave that there. And so we're going to be much more comprehensive and strategic in how we go about this. But again, we're not going to victimize our community. I don't want to stop somebody from having a barbecue in their yard. I don't want to stop a large open house for a graduation. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about these types of events at 2 in the morning, 200 and 300 people in the middle of the street, at least 9 of them carrying guns and one with a Glock switch. That's our target audience.
Second question, thank you. Is now last year you said there was a problem with block parties and you had put some strategies in place, or you said you were going. Did that ever happen where you were going to require people to, I believe, was to register and go through? There was a push on social media to that effect. Where did that ever take place?
So you have to inspect what you expect, and we certainly directed that. You know, we moved to doing that. It wasn't as much of a problem last year as it is this year. When we looked at that, there was really no teeth to that process to make sure people did in fact register to block parties. Now you're going to have people assigned out of the real-time crime center to ensure and do that inspection so that our expectations are met that it's occurring. And if it doesn't happen, then there's going to be accountability on both ends. Accountability from my shop to the person whose responsibility it is to ensure it's happening, and then accountability on the part of the community to advise them early, not during the party, but early enough that you have not met your responsibility to host an event this size.
Thank you.
All right.
Good morning, Chief. Sam Robinson with Axios Detroit.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
You mentioned you're going to reclassify the calls, 911 calls, to priority 1. What were they classified previously?
Some were 3, some were 2, some elevated to 1. Depending on the nature of the call, if someone said they saw weapons and that type of thing. But we're now going to take a blanket approach to block parties, and they're going to register as a 1.
Sure. And then, did you guys receive shot spotter alerts following this incident? And is that tool going to be used as part of the investigation?
Yes, we did get 63 shot spotter alerts.
Thank you.
Morning, Malachi Barrett from Bridge, Detroit. I'm wondering if this occurred within a CVI zone and what kinds of services or supports the city might offer for families that have been impacted. I understand there's some vigils being scheduled and things like that, but anything from the city that could be offered to families?
Yeah, I'll have to get you the zone. Ask that question. DC Sloan, do you know off the top of your head? Wayne Metro, okay. And as far as support, our Chief Neighborhood Liaison, Office of Workplace and Community Resiliency, will be reaching out to families as needed. Our chaplain corps, I have a second deputy chief that's assigned to Chief Neighborhood Liaison that's dedicated to going out and ensuring that the families get what they need. So we'll continue to do that. We do it with every victim in our community.
And my second question would be, I think we're all a little staggered by the scale of this event.
Yeah.
Can you contextualize, in the city's history, in your time as chief, I mean, have we seen anything like this before?
Yeah, I mean, as my time as chief, no. I haven't done the historical research, but just off the cuff, I'm going to say I don't think so. The numbers are staggering, but, you have to, put in context precisely what happened. I mean, you've got a multitude of people that are engaged in this behavior. This isn't, one suspect, one group being targeted. This is a group of people who are essentially engaged in a shootout. And so, doesn't make it any less hurtful for the folks who are involved in it. But certainly when you look at what occurred, it's a little bit different, but the numbers are certainly what they are and very tragic.
Thank you.
Hi, Chief. John Hewitt, WWJ. Just one question, and I did hear clearly the prosecutor said the facts won't be discussed today, and I appreciate you have an investigation ongoing. Can you talk about suspects at all in regard to, you're obviously, it might have been a spontaneous back and forth, who you're looking for? Do you have ideas who you're looking for? Any inclination you can give in regard to what's happening?
You know, I say it often, you know, we've got the best homicide team in the country, and they are doing what they do well. They are interviewing everybody related to this case. They're using that to gather evidence and decide who's going to be elevated to suspect, and that process is ongoing. Beyond that, I have nothing further to say, but we'll have a lot to say at the right time.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right.
Hi, Camille from Fox 2. He took my first question. Second question, we were out there at the scene yesterday, and it was that whole block from Reno up, you know, it's a pretty big area that had been roped off. Do you have any idea how many people were at that party at the height of it?
So, you know, that's part of our ongoing investigation, too, because once we get the total number, we know who we need to talk. We want to talk to everybody. We know right now, as of the press conference, over 300. But I keep getting updates, and that number keeps growing, so we will see. But I know that they need to talk to approximately 300 people. And as they talk to people, they hear about other people and other people and other people. So.
A follow-up question. You know, again, we were out there. We went door to door. Neighbors not wanting to talk to the media at all. I get it. Are they cooperating with you? Are they helping you?
We have varying degrees of cooperation throughout this investigation. I'll leave that there.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
All right. Thank you.
I'm with you. Thank you. I can talk to you in November. See if we get president in first. Yes, sir.
Glad somebody said it. If I'm president. Code 22 is our initiative. 22nd is a nobody saved. The area is a proclamation. So like in the second, we're gathering to bring in for a day of peace. I know I'm here. Yesterday, Eric Hill already.
A widespread flash flooding threat that's first going to be focused today in this red area from Texarkana to